Senate. Runs from Ithaca over to Hornell, catches like Penn Yan, and Elmira and Corning, stuff like that. I think the Democrat candidate running against Tom O'Mara, the incumbent, is Leslie Danks Burke, who joins us now. Good morning, ma'am, or good afternoon, ma'am, and welcome to the broadcast.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me.
You betcha. Well, if you're knocking at the door, if that were COVID acceptable, and Mr. and Mrs. District opened up and said, who are you and what do you want, and you're making your pitch, what would you say to them, please, ma'am?
I am running because our taxes are through the roof here in upstate New York, and we are not getting that money back here that we're paying into the system and that we deserve. We see that our schools get shortchanged. They get less money than other parts of the state. We see that our bridges and roads are struggling. And my opponent has been there for 16 years. He has voted over and over to raise our property taxes. He's voted to send away money that was supposed to come for our roads and infrastructure. And I don't believe we can keep on making the same choice and expecting things to change. So I'm ready to get in there and fight for our fair share.
So the argument is that O'Mara he's not brought home the bacon.
Absolutely. He has not delivered. He did not deliver when he was in the majority, when the Republicans held the state Senate up until 2019. And now that he's in the minority, he just does not have a seat at the table. And he says it himself. He says that, he can't get anything done with the Democrats in charge. Well, I don't think it's about political party. I think it's about the person. I think that the deck is stacked against folks in upstate New York and Albany, and I think we need a fighter to get in there and stand up for our fair share.
I think there are 3 Democrats in the New York State Senate, who are upstate. Is there a problem with regional representation in your party in Albany?
I think that there is. I think there's a problem with regional representation, frankly, in both parties. I'd like to see, it be a little bit less lopsided downstate. I'd like to see the Democrats not controlling necessarily all parts of the equation in New York City. So I think that we have a better system of government when our checks and balances are in place. When you see the give and take between the legislature and the executive, it concerns me deeply that my opponent, Tom O'Mara, voted to supersize Governor Cuomo's executive powers. They were Republicans who voted against that, and there were Democrats who voted against that. I think we're supposed to respect the checks and balances of political party and also of the branches of government.
You would have voted against the emergency powers for the governor?
I would have voted against that. I see that in New York State, the executive branch already has more power than just about any other governor in the country. And to make the decision at the beginning of a crisis that we were going to hand over more of that, I think that was the wrong way to go. I think that there were ways to manage this crisis without handing over that authority.
Leslie Danks Burke is running for New York State Senate in the 58th district. Whereabouts in the district do you live, please, ma'am?
I live in Tompkins County. I'm on the far eastern edge of the district. And as you pointed out, the district includes 5 counties. It runs from Ithaca to Elmira, Corning, Hornell. It goes up to Watkins Glen and Penn Yan. I think it's a beautiful district. We have a lot of really beautiful farmland and Finger Lakes and wine country, but it sure is a region that has been lacking in jobs and lacking in investment from the rest of the state, and I think we can do a lot better.
The district is two completely separate planets. There's intensely progressive and democratic Tompkins County, and there's the rest of the district, which is, again, intensely rural and predominantly Republican. How do you represent both?
I think that people have more in common than divides us. And I think that the challenges that we're facing right now are not necessarily Democratic or Republican challenges. I think what we're facing right now is that the middle class, the regular folks who are doing most of the working and the paying of taxes, are having to subsidize the folks at the very tippity top, the New York City billionaires who make their money in Wall Street, don't work with their hands, and are subsidized by the rest of us. We don't have billionaires in my district. There's nobody who makes that kind of money around here. Pretty much anybody in upstate New York is not making billions of dollars. But New York State is set up right now to ensure that the folks at the very, very tippity top get away without paying anything while the rest of us have to pick it up for them. And that's not a Democrat or Republican problem, or maybe it's both. anyway, those big fancy folks at the top are donating to campaigns on both sides of the aisle to keep this system in place that's benefiting them. And I think we need to band together and call that out.
So like the millionaire's tax you do?
Not the millionaire's tax. I'm talking about billionaires. It's a huge difference between a millionaire who, probably somebody who worked very hard and built a business and, invested over their lifetime. That's a whole different thing from the billionaires. It's hard for some people to even wrap their minds around that. What I'm talking about are these billionaires in New York City who don't pay any taxes at all.
And there are a lot of those, you think?
There's, at last count, there's about 185 of them, and a billion is 1,000 million.
I think everybody who took the Regents knows that. Let me ask you: Is that as you leave Tompkins County and get to the rest of the district, is that argument well received?
It is. What I'm hearing is that people understand that we're getting shortchanged here by the very powerful interests in New York City. Folks upstate recognize that it's not a fair playing field. That the playing field.
But does that have to do with the political?
But
does that have to do with the political power of the people in New York City, or the income of some of the people in New York City?
I think it's about the money, Bob. I think they like to get the political parties fighting with each other so they can distract us from what they're doing. Except
that there is no fight in New York. There's the Democratic Party. It controls all, right? There is no fight. The Republican Party is not a player in that.
Yeah, I sure wish that they would be, though. When I hear my opponents say, I can't get anything done, I can't even try to stand up for upstate New York, I say, well then, man, why are you there? It's been years of Republicans representing my region and choosing not to fight, choosing not to get in there and stand up.
Very good. Thank you so
much.
I
think that's a concern.
That's Leslie Danks Burke. It's time for news. This is